if you look throughout history at examples of resistance to authority, and you'll find lots of examples of evil things being done in the name of authority, and a few little troublemaker criminals saying, we're not going to put up with that anymore. The inability to distinguish between authority and right and wrong has been basically the downfall of humanity. We know the names of the big nasty tyrants. Stalin, Hitler, Mao, Lenin, Pol Pot, whatever. We know their names. The only reason we know their names is not because of what they individually did. It's because of what was done in their name by lots of people who were just doing as they were told. Adolf Hitler by himself would have accomplished nothing. None of us would know his name if the German people did not believe in this thing called authority, where, hey, but he is on the pedestal of power, what he says is law, and we have to enforce it. Hey, we're just following orders. Well, if you look at history, most of the evil committed was not by the individual nasty people whose names we all know. It was by the hundreds or thousands or millions of basically good people who thought, well, it's the law, I'm not going to resist it. Let's jump to the American Revolution. Now, to us, the American Revolution is something we read about in a history book. We know how it turns out. We're not wondering if we're going to die while we're reading a history book. The people who lived it didn't get to flip to the end to see, okay, well, cool, we're going to win, so we can, just relax. To them, it was rebellion, it was revolution, it was we're going to disobey government, and government's going to send guys with guns against us, and we're going to say, nope, you're not in charge of us anymore, and we're probably going to have a shootout, and a bunch of us are going to die. That was reality to them. They didn't know who was going to win. In fact, the rational guess was they were going to lose really badly to the British Crown. But they did it anyway. Now, from our perspective, because the winners write the history books, we sort of view the colonist rebels as, well, they're the good guys who are going to eventually make the United States of America. Back then, they were traitors and criminals. An equivalent today would make most people really uncomfortable. There's a group of Americans somewhere who says, yeah, federal government, we're fed up with you, we're not paying your taxes, and we're not going to disarm. And the feds send in the ATF and the FBI and say, yeah, you have to hand over your guns because you're a bunch of criminals and traitors, you've disobeyed our laws, you're all going to prison. And they say, nope, we're not going to, and we're going to shoot you if you come try to take them. If you read that in tomorrow's paper or saw it on the news tomorrow, it would be, whoa, holy smokes. That's what you're reading when you read about the American Revolution. That's what they did. They were a bunch of people who told their government, we're not going to disarm and we're going to shoot you if you try to disarm us. But if you consider an equivalent version today, most people would be terrified of the idea there's some wacko group out there who's having a standoff with the feds. Only about a third of them actually supported the revolution. And about a third, these are rough numbers, were loyalists and said, no, we should stay a British colony. And then a third were just sort of spectators. Imagine being the spectators thinking, holy smokes, I'm just trying to live here, and suddenly this group of people is telling the government to get lost, and troops are coming in, and now they're shooting at each other. That's where they lived. There were shootouts in their hometown between law enforcers, the government, and these nasty criminals trying to say, no, we're independent of you now, you're not in charge of us anymore. The people who changed the world for the better were the criminals. I realize this goes completely against almost everything we hear because we're taught in such a way that people get confused in their head between doing the right thing and doing as you're told. And if you want humanity to progress forward, what you need is a bunch of lawbreakers. And I don't mean go around and murder people and rob people. There isn't anything so nasty and evil that it cannot be legislated. There isn't anything so nasty and evil that it hasn't already been legislated over and over again throughout the world and throughout history. And when you make evil law, by definition, you make doing the right thing into a crime. When people cannot distinguish between the right thing and the legal thing, they can't distinguish between doing what you should and doing what you're told, then the people in general actually allow the evil that happens, and sometimes enforce the evil that happens. It's interesting that now we look back and certain criminals, we go, yay. The Underground Railroad, most of us now realize, yes, they were absolutely in the right to break the law and illegally sneak slaves out. Nazi Germany, the White Rose was an organization that spoke out against the Nazis and said they're destroying Germany and they're doing horrible, nasty things. And the people of that were beheaded. Now we realize, yes, they were, by definition, traitors and criminals. They also happen to be completely right. We have to be able to distinguish between obedience to authority and doing the right thing. Now, when they happen to match, great.